Hello everybody, and welcome to this new pick a card reading where we explore together the meaning behind your nightmares. My name is Ellie, welcome to my channel. And if you want to skip ahead, the timestamp to the pile selection is already down below in the description bar. So if you want to move on and skip this little introduction, that is fine by me. But for those of you who want to stick around for now, in the next minute, I will take basically the next minute right now to sort of explain to you better the purpose behind this reading. So today we dive into the confines of your subconscious mind where all dreams seems to emerge from. But today we're going to specifically take an interest into nightmares, which nightmares are very often a reincarnation of our subconscious fears, insecurities, and doubts, and very deep embedded feelings. So if you can recall a nightmare that you had lately, maybe in the past, or maybe recently, then hopefully this pick a card reading will be able to provide you with some deeper insights about what this nightmare may actually mean specifically for you. So the topic of dreams has actually been a huge mystery throughout the centuries in the history of humankind. And there has been a lot of speculation still about the reason as to why we dream and why we dream what we dream. And it is, of course, still a very big subject of study even today. But as an Oneiromancer and lucid dreamer, I am someone that truly believes that our dreams, as abstract as they can sometimes be, actually contain so much information about everything that our brains spend the day recording underneath the surface of our consciousness, whether that is thoughts, actions, feelings, or experiences that we have during our wake life. It seems like our subconscious brain has a personal relationship with all of that and a personal association with all of that as well. And that is why understanding better our dreams, how they function, how they interact with us, and the sorts of feelings that they conjure up in us can say a lot about how we actually perceive the world around us in our day-to-day living. But I am also one of those persons as well that truly believes that sometimes also our dreams can be a doorway towards a realm of spirit. Because when our conscious mind leaves place for our subconscious to take over, our spirit, our energetic body basically takes charge and does its little own exploring and investigating. And sometimes it will travel through different layers of our soul, of our human experience. Sometimes it will even explore other dimensions or other sorts of realities, whether that is past, present, even future. And sometimes we may even interact with other spirits during our dreamland. We may even interact with different souls. We may interact with people that are present in our current life or that come from our past. And they can sometimes come as an actor in our dreams to deliver us a specific message. Or sometimes they can also come in as a substitute for a certain aspect of ourselves that we need to confront and communicate with. So we're going to tap into all of that today. What we're going to do basically is Oneiromancy, which Oneiromancy is a divination practice. It's about the interpretation of our dreams. So extracting psychic information or spiritual information out of our dreams. Ever since I was a little child, I have always been so fascinated by my dreams and by my nightmares specifically because I used to have them a lot. I used to do recurrent night terrors. And my nightmares were so vivid. They were as real as me right now talking to you through this video. They used to be so cohesive as well. I always had a lot of prophetic dreams. I also even had those instances where I could actually leave my body and astral travel through my dreams, or astral project in a sense. And other times I would get visited by some deceased loved ones that I know, and other times, sometimes in rarest occasions, I would get visited by spirits of the deceased. And I recall very well that one instance, probably the most troubling one in my personal life. And it was this little girl that came to me in one of my dreams, and she spoke to me about basically the circumstances of her death. And later on during the week after I had actually this dream, I saw on the news this same little girl that had actually disappeared. So to me, because of all of that, because of all of those strange reoccurrences that I had through my dreams, I became really used to get into a habit to really note my dreams down and take the time to analyze them, as insignificant as they might be sometimes. So I hope that hopefully this reading will know how to sort of inspire you to get yourself more intrigued and more curious about your own dreams and also your nightmares as well, of course. Because your nightmares actually have a lot to say about the current obstacles that you are facing in your life and the current challenges that you need to overcome. And so through my own journey, because of that, I came to see my own nightmares not so much as my enemy anymore, and not so much as this sort of force that was tormenting me as I was asleep, but I came to rather see it as sometimes rather signs or warnings or red flags, sort of alerts that if I took the time to listen could be of really big service to me. But no matter what your personal beliefs may be about dreams, everybody are welcome here in my safe space, and I hope that you will get to find value in those readings nonetheless. But if you're ready, let's take you to my altar right behind me, and I will present to you the piles that I have for you today. Welcome everyone to the pile selection. So before I start and present to you each pile, let me just drop a very quick disclaimer as usual. So please know that this is a general reading, so of course it will not resonate with just everybody, but it was crafted to resonate with the people that it is meant to reach. This being said, there's probably a message meant for you to be found in there in one of those piles, and maybe that you will be able to come out of them with some value nonetheless. Please note that I'm just a human being, just like you, so I'm endowed with an ego too. And therefore, my interpretations, although they come from the best of places, although they come from my heart to yours, guys, they are still not the absolute. So please take in what resonates with you and leave behind the rest, and that's perfectly fine by me. So if you are ready, this is pile 1, pile 2, pile 3, and pile 4. So I have placed some sort of like creepy sort of short story titles on top of each pile for those of you that it will help to choose. I thought that this would be fun and be very different than usual. So for pile 1 we have a night to escape or disappear. For pile 2 we have there is something inside the walls. For pile 3, sorry, we have somebody acted strange. And for pile 4, we have an unfamiliar guest. So if you are ready, you can take the time to pick the pile that you feel the most drawn to. Maybe because there is one specific phrase up there that resonates with you, or because you feel drawn to the cards, you know. Trust that your intuition will guide you towards the right place. So now I will offer a 30-second meditation to help you tune in with the energies of each pile and of this reading. So if you're ready for the meditation, please find a comfortable position where you can relax and you can keep your eyes open to choose the pile that speaks the most to you. So if you're ready, let's start by calling in the spirits of this sacred space, and let's begin. Welcome pile 1 into this reading where we explore the meaning of your nightmares. I hope that you guys aren't too creeped out by my setting today. It is October by the time that I'm filming this. So, you know, I just decided to assume it and go all in with the underworld vibes. So just so you know, I'm using an extremely special deck today, a very special tarot deck, probably the most precious one by far that I own, and it's because it was my heritage from one of my best friend who actually passed away and left this world now about 2 years ago. And it's one of the last remains of her that I own, one of the last few things that I own from her. So obviously I've been thinking quite a lot about her lately. And I have to say that I almost never use this deck. I never cleansed it either. And that's because I only use it when I need her voice to guide me specifically. And so far it's been so crazy because she is always so on point. I always have the impression that I'm still having a conversation with her through this deck sometimes. So I wanted her and her wisdom to sort of accompany us today through this unique reading, and hopefully that way her love and her mission can still carry on even after her death. So this deck is pretty haunting in its imagery, and I feel that it's very reflective for the theme that we're going to explore today, which is your nightmare. So I hope that you have one in mind currently. It could be one that you had lately or one that you had in a more distant past. It doesn't really matter. We will see what this nightmare may be about in the first section of this reading with those two cards and those three ones over there. And there, about mid-section of the reading, I will flip over your other tarot cards, the two remaining ones, and those three oracle cards over here. And with those, we will take a look at what this nightmare may mean for you. So I hope that you're ready, but I want to reassure you guys that this reading is guidance for you, right? So I am an intuitive reader, and I use the cards as an extension of my power. So take it as it resonates and leave the rest behind. This is going to be some loving guidance from my heart to yours, from what I see in the cards. But let's start by taking a look at what this nightmare that you had may be looking like. So we have here for you this card number 4. Interesting scene that has a lot to say already. Then we have this card number 37. And after that, we have Temperance. And we have, look at that, we have the Hermit reversed. Okay, a lot to me is coming already. Oh, and I almost forgot about this one. We have here, Adela could not find her way out of the woods. All right. So one thing that is coming to me immediately from this nightmare is a lot of anxiety, from a feeling of being very alone or abandoned, left in the dark, with only yourself to lean on to make things happen with this Hermit reverse, where you can't do anything or where your power is being restricted maybe. With this Temperance right next, being abandoned or lost in a very dark place all by yourself is really the big mood that I'm sensing here. But I really see that for the big part, most of you who are completely alone in this nightmare with this Temperance and Hermit card. I see you being completely at the mercy of whatever is happening to you in this nightmare. Or if there was other people with you, then maybe that you were the one responsible to make something happen for you and the others with you with this Temperance card. But for sure, I see and I sense a lot of anxiety from this nightmare in particular for you guys. And to me, there is a difference in between fear and anxiety. Fear to me is really focused on a known external danger, right? Like there is a bad guy trying to chase you, for instance. But anxiety, however, is a generalized response to an unknown threat or internal conflict. Not knowing what to do, what is going to happen, how to pull yourself out of this extremely complex situation. So this nightmare already breeds a lot of anxiety to me, just so you know. And before I continue, I am wondering if this nightmare is perhaps a childhood dream. I don't know why, but this child here on this card really stands out to me. Maybe that this is a recurring dream that you have been having, or perhaps that this is a dream that has recycled many times for you in your life. I'm getting a sense here that many of you had this dream happen to you a few times before. And by recycled, I mean that the undertone seems to be the same all of the time. The type of energy that I'm getting from those cards already is you know those type of nightmares where you're kind of like trying to flee something or chase something, but you can't somehow? It's like you can't catch it or try to escape it. So for example, there might be this person, a beast, chasing you down, and maybe you're trying to run, but then maybe that all of the muscles of your body completely shut down, or you try to scream and call for help, but no sounds come out of your mouth all of a sudden. So those types of nightmares are pretty popular, and I used to have them a lot when I was a child. And I guess that this is why it came to me that maybe you used to have those dreams as a child as well, Pal One. Maybe not necessarily. Maybe that this is just a dream that you have been having lately, but that is one clear option that I see here. Is you trying to defend yourself, escape, or run away, but somehow you just can't. It's like either you can't move or you cannot find your way out with this card over here and this one there. Like those cards, they seem pretty linked to me. They almost seem like depicting a scene where a child gets lost in the wood and there's like this old hag, like scary looking witch that is just taking you and running away with you. So another very big scenario that I'm seeing here, and this may sound very specific, but maybe that is just for some of you guys here, but I don't know if some of you are maybe parents, maybe you are a new parent even, and maybe that you just had a baby. If so, congratulations. But maybe that this nightmare was about that. Maybe that this nightmare was about you losing your child or losing your baby. Scary scenario. So I'm seeing people here being in either which role, the role of the child who has been abandoned or taken from their parents or from their safety zone, from their environment. But then I see that others of you, it was about being in this parent role and maybe your child being taken away from you. For others of you, this could be about you losing somebody or something extremely precious and important to you, something or someone that you are very attached to and that you're most likely in charge of. I guess that this is why this image of a child is coming to me. But this could also be a pet, a partner, a friend, maybe even a family member of yours that you felt responsible for in this nightmare. Some sort of being that you were in charge of being taken away from you. Maybe because they have been stolen away from you, or because they have disappeared and you couldn't find them, or you weren't able to resolve this sort of mystery. You have lost this person or this thing in this nightmare. And this nightmare was, for a lot of you guys, about searching for it everywhere, day and night for it, trying to retrieve it back. So there is this portion of you that this nightmare was about you trying to find this thing that you had lost. And then there is this other portion of you where it was you that had lost your way from home or from anything you were familiar with in this dream, where you can't seem to find a way out. But for sure, there is a sense here of losing complete controls and means. I say that because on this card number 37 here, that really makes me think of the magician's tool on his desk. For those of you who are already familiar with tarot, then you might have noticed that the tools that are here on the table are exactly the same than the ones being depicted on the magician's card in tarot. We have the pentacle here, the wand, the cup, we have the sword. But then, instead of making magic happen out of those tools or, creating something out of it, this character is sort of sleeping on the table here. They're sleeping on their power. So that lets me know, especially with temperance here as well, that you guys really had to make something happen in this dream. But then again, like I've mentioned, it's like you couldn't for one reason or another. You couldn't change anything. You couldn't find a solution. You couldn't find a formula or the exit or way out of this situation. Or you didn't have the competence, knowledge, or power to help you to change anything. It's like a feeling of complete powerlessness. And for a lot of you, this is exactly what scared the crap out of you in this nightmare. It felt like the guilt of not being able to do anything, or the sensation of having all of your power, strength, and capacity being completely removed from you. That was actually the most frightening part. But for sure, this feels like you kind of sleeping on your power in this nightmare, or failing to take the means necessary to get out of your situation, whatever it might be, which in turn kind of left you at the mercy of what was going on here. That's why this is really making me think that by this time this nightmare occurred, you could have been worrying about something or someone maybe. This nightmare, I feel, was conjured up from some sort of anxiety related to what you can do and what is a little bit out of your control. But clearly with this card number 37 and this card of temperance here, I feel that this speaks about what you feel that you don't have the power over in your wake life, Pawan. Like, no matter what you're doing, there is nothing strong enough that you can do to try to stop it. But this nightmare, I feel, is really about something being taken away from you, I feel. It's like the worst thing that you could possibly imagine in your wake life is happening in this nightmare. And the realism of it all is what makes it even more anxiety driven. But let's get into more details now for you guys and see what this nightmare actually really means. So we have here the card of the iceberg. Then we have the fetus. And then we have the lighthouse. Interesting. And then we have the 5 of Wands. And finally, the final card that we have for you is the 8 of Cups. It's funny because the woman on this picture, since it follows the 5 of Wands, it's kind of letting me think that she doesn't want to look at what is going on over there. She doesn't want to look at the fight. She doesn't want to look at the drama that is happening here in this scene right there. So you guys, with this iceberg, fetus, and lighthouse, maybe that those symbols ring a bell for you guys. Maybe that some of you dreamed about losing a fetus too. Maybe that for some of you in this nightmare, you saw a lighthouse or a single source of light that you were trying to follow. And I know that it sounds kind of weird, but that is another thing coming to me here. Maybe with this iceberg card as well, that for some of you there was snow in this dream. Maybe that this was during winter time or happening somewhere cold. So maybe that you may recognize a little bit of symbolism in there. Maybe not, but I just wanted to point this out just in case it might resonate even more for some of you. But that's so odd that I was talking about you maybe losing a child in this nightmare or something of the sort, like losing a baby or having a child kidnapped or taken away from you, because we have the card here of the fetus. So that confirms that I may have been close to the target here for some of you. But again, this is extremely specific, so that might just be for a few of you. But definitely pile 1 with this 8 of Cups right there and this 5 of Wands. This dream is conjured up from this idea of the worst case scenario that could happen for you, considering that you are losing a certain battle in your life right now with this 5 of Wands. Or as maybe some of you failed to correctly protect a loved one or something that deeply matters to you. But this is anticipating the worst to come, is really what I see with this 8 of Cups, followed by this 5 of Wands. It's kind of like looking forward with uncertainty and anxiety, realizing that you may not have a good grip on the things that you have spent a lot of time, energy, and love building in your life. With those 8 cups right there, maybe not wanting to look at what is not really going on super well in your wake life right now. But it's funny because I feel that I am making this reading for 2 different groups of people here. The first one being the people that are shown through this nightmare something that they can lose. And then the second group being my people who are the ones being lost, trying to find their way out in this sort of dead-end landscape, environment, or situation here, where all exits kind of look the same. And it's like, you know, you open the door and there's another door after it. You see what I mean? So for those of you who really identified with that first group that I was speaking of, about something being taken away from you, then this is excessive worry of having something happen to this person, thing, or job that you like, is what I'm feeling is feeding this sort of nightmare. For others of you, that were in this position of being the one being lost, unable to find your way out, then this feels to me like the fear of being abandoned by something or someone is really what this nightmare is picturing and mirroring back at you. As well as some of you have been feeling trapped or enrolled in this dead-end sort of energy in your wake life for a while now, and that is what this nightmare came to alert you of. It came to confront you. Basically, it came to make you see something that you don't want to see or don't want to acknowledge or don't want to accept. Nightmares are always messages of our subconscious, but really what makes this nightmare extremely real is that this reflects a scenario that could be near the reality that you could be experiencing, but with different circumstances. What is striking to me with this 8 of Cups and 5 of Wands though, is that some of you could be dealing with an environment or circumstances right now in your life that are a bit stressful for you, that are a bit taxing or a bit overwhelming, maybe even a bit toxic for you with this 5 of Wands, because the 5 of Wands to me depicts a scene where a lot of people are just trying to hit each other right there, and where sometimes they just hit the target and other times they sort of miss it. And they are losing a lot of energy here like that, trying to fight off each other. So this shows me that you're battling something emotionally demanding, taxing, or draining for you in your life right now, Pile 1. But that's the thing with this iceberg card as well here, is that you may not necessarily think in your waking life that this group of people or that environment is necessarily that bad for you. It might not be a problem that you're actually noticing the extent of. It might just seem like, it might not really seem like this very big deal to you, but that is because that is only the tip of the iceberg here right now that you can see. And what is underneath the water is maybe a lot more bigger and more impactful than what you are able to notice or interpret it as when you're confronted by it in your day-to-day living. But it seems here like your nightmare is giving you a choice with this 8 of Cups to either keep accepting having to deal with that situation right there in the way that it is meant to sort of remain, or leave when you have had enough, Pile 1. The thing with this 8 of Cups is that this is a card of movement, but it speaks of leaving something behind. So it speaks of leaving something behind in order to step into the possibilities and potential of our future. But out of all of the cards of movement and transition in tarot, the 8 of Cups has always personally fascinated me, because this one speaks of leaving as a conscious and intentional choice. Choosing to leave behind a conflicting situation that you have been going through, a situation or environment that drains a lot of energy and juice out of you, that you could rather invest somewhere else in something a lot more productive than that. Because the problem here with this card of the iceberg seems to me a lot more bigger or a lot more serious than maybe a lot of you are willing to assess it right now. That a lot of you who are stuck in this dead-end energy may think. So I feel that this is what this nightmare is actually all about. It wants you to know that you have actually a choice here presented to you, Pile 1, to either keep enduring that sort of energy, that sort of drama shit, that situation that isn't in alignment with you anymore, and to watch it accumulate a lot of frustrations and inner conflict within you with this 5 of Wands, or to step outside of it and consciously choose to not engage with that anymore, to not give it that sort of attention and energy anymore. And I don't think that this is necessarily something very huge. Like, I don't feel like this is necessarily a big physical move. Maybe that it is for some of you, but I mean, this is a general reading, so I definitely invite your intuition to be the guide here. But it feels like a should I stay or should I go situation here. Some of you may wonder if it would be better for you to leave a relationship behind, to leave a commitment behind, to leave a job behind. I mean, it could be about that. But for most of you, I really feel that this is you needing to take a bit of distance with that conflicting energy. with that Five of Wands sort of energy. You needing to reach a sense of peace and resolution with that. And that actually reminded me of something incredible that my partner said to me as we were talking to each other this week, because I've asked him, what do you think is so important to do in order to keep a relationship healthy? And he said to me the most surprising and then the most obvious thing as well. But he said, to me, it's to make sure that I don't fall asleep before I resolve any arguments or unsettled problems, and that I don't sleep on any sort of anger or any sort of incomprehension or confusion, to make sure basically that I resolve all of that before I go to sleep or before I just go and sleep on it. And he said that he didn't exactly know why, but he believed that when we sleep on our unresolved issues, something sort of registers it within our subconscious. Our brain registers it and drags it down into our subconscious mind, and it becomes part of our wake reality the next day. You know how they say that sometimes if you want to learn something new, then the best way is to practice it right before you go sleeping, because when you sleep, your brain continues the learning process a lot more rapidly than during your daily life. Well, he believes that this is what happens mostly with our emotions as well, and the things that we are unwilling to resolve. And I was like, man, you're a genius. That is so true. That's why I'm with you. I'm joking. But I just found that so smart. I was like, man, I don't know why I didn't think about that before. I really do believe that this is true. So for example, if you sleep on a problem that you are having with someone, when you could have that conversation instead to try to resolve the issue before sleep, then that is something that your subconscious can definitely register on. And that is where nightmares most of the time emerge from. So that is it, Pal One. My advice to you is to try to seek some closure or peace with this situation as soon as you can, because I feel that you have perhaps been pushing it for too long. Maybe you haven't been wanting to look at it for a while, or to really want to address it, maybe to keep the peace alive or to keep the harmony alive. Maybe because you don't want to cause any problem, and maybe just because you don't want to get involved into this whole scene here. And that's why this anxiety is tormenting you in this form of a nightmare now. It's because your higher self wants you to find a way to put this to rest, and for you to finally move on with your life in peace by sort of like stopping to feed into this with your energy, your frustrations, your grudges with this Five of Wands, or to just try to get your hands on and resolve it, and to be sort of the lighthouse here of the situation, to be the mature one and set the example, because this worry expands as you give it so much subconscious attention. And maybe all that you want right now is not think about it too much, but just be careful, because that could quickly transform into avoidance for you sometimes. So what this iceberg and lighthouse cards are telling me here is that further self-exploration needs to be had with yourself right now, because this dream incarnates a lot of your hidden emotions or deeply seated emotions about a particular situation in your life right now, like an iceberg or like a fetus inside a mother's womb. It's like you can't see the entirety of it. Maybe you can see some evidence of it. You know, you can see that a woman is pregnant, but you cannot see the baby inside the belly. You know what I mean? Like you can just see the tip of the iceberg, but you don't see the whole structure that it creates down below. But there are other better possibilities in store for you for sure with this Eight of Cups and fetus card. And I'm also picking up that for others of you, it is time to have that conversation that needs to be had here with the people that this matter concerns. That is how you can bring a lot more peace, clarity, and order back into your life, so that now at least you get some peace of mind and know where you stand in this conflicting energy here. So the message here is to take your worries and concerns a little bit more seriously, and to make sure that you don't sleep one more night on those underlying feelings that you may have had lately. that are important to express part one. It's really important for you that you make peace with those people, or to bring back some form of order, if that is your environment, so that it ceases to affect you in this way so much. And if that means that you need to take your distance from it for a while, then so be it. But I feel like it's important that any problems find resolution right now, that you don't hold on to any sort of like grudge or resentment or concern that you could be holding on to, even if it causes a bit of disruption. Ultimately, I see this conversation basically bringing you and that person that it concerns as well closer together. If the problem involves someone else, it's really important right now to not let that conflicting energy anchor down and to take hold over your reality. And that is what I mean by refusing to sleep one more night on it, to refuse to take this problem lightly. So that's the thing, is that most often our nightmares can be our allies when we take the time to understand them a little bit better and where they come from. And I hope that this reading could help some of you get to know your subconscious better, part one. When our subconscious become conscious, I just want to say we take back the seat of our power over our fears. So I want to thank you so much for spending this time with me today and for making me your humble guide in this reading. If you have been curious to check out my online tarot service, if you have been curious to check out my online tarot services, the link to my shop will be down below in the description bar. It will be a pleasure to be of further help to you if you are interested into that. But otherwise, I hope that we will hang out soon on the channel again in another video. Bye bye, you guys. Welcome back into this reading where we explore the meaning of your nightmares. I hope that you guys aren't too creeped out by my sitting so far. It is the month of October by the time that I'm filming this, so I decided to go all in and assume the underworld vibes. But just so you know, I'm using a very extremely special and precious deck to me today, probably the most precious one by far that I own, and it's because this deck was actually my heritage from one of my best friends who passed away now about 2 years ago. And it's one of the last things that I own for her, one of the last remaining tangible things that I have of her. So obviously I have been thinking a lot about her lately. And I have to say that I almost never use that deck. I never cleansed it either, and that's because I only utilize it when I need her voice to guide me specifically. And so far it's been crazy because it always has been sort of very on point. I always have the impression that I'm having a conversation with her through this deck. So I wanted her and her wisdom to accompany us today through this unique reading, and hopefully that way her love and her mission can still carry on even after her death. So this deck is pretty haunting in its imagery. I just want to warn you already. And I feel that this is very reflective for the theme that we are going to explore today, which is your nightmare. So I hope that you have one in your mind currently. It could be one that you had lately or one that you had in a more distant past. It doesn't really matter. We will see what this nightmare may be about in the first section of this reading, with the first 2 tarot cards over here and the 3 oracle cards over there. And then around midsection of the reading, I will flip over your other tarot cards and those 3 little oracle cards over there. And with those, we will take a look at what this dream meant for you. So I hope that you're ready, but I want to reassure you guys that this reading is guidance only for you, all right? So I am an intuitive reader and I use the cards as an extension of my power. So take it as you want to take it and take what resonates and leave behind the rest. This is going to just be some loving guidance from me to you that I see in those cards. So let's start by taking a look at what this nightmare that you may have been having may be about. The first card that we have here for you is Adela flung Angela's baby from an upstairs window. Creepy. That was pretty violent, I think, or like just a what the hell is going on moment, you know what I mean? The next card that we have for you is the card number 17. Then the other scene that we have for you and is this card here, number 31. And the next card that we have is the Hangman. And then we have the card of Strength. So no matter what this is, it got physical. That's for sure. So clearly, this nightmare of yours, pal, too, may have included some form of mistreatment, abuse, or violence with both this Hangman that is tied up and this card of Strength here, where this figure is kind of like trying to open up, force open the mouth of that creature here, trying to fight up this monster. Even with this card here, that kind of disturbs me a little bit. You know, Adela flings Angela's baby from an upstairs window. Like, what the hell? And this card here too, number 17, where those women are just almost fighting over this one kid here. In fact, it's just crazy the amount of force or restrictions being depicted here in your cards. And even in this card number 31, if I don't know if you have noticed, but each of the women right there are like kind of like holding each other by their hair, where this child here is being torn in between those two women that are like pulling him apart. So this nightmare for sure has got very physical for you, and I definitely feel a lot of violence or almost violation here, almost like a personal attack to you. Like, I can't have my own space and my own room, like I am tied up or my mobility is limited for some reason. Perhaps that's some of you as well because of that card here. This nightmare may have tried to pull you in between two choices, maybe two people or two different options. Maybe that some of you were forced to choose or pick one over the other. But it feels like you have combated tooth and nails in this dream, emotionally, mentally, and for a lot of you physically too, is what I'm seeing here. This dream definitely put you in this very difficult or uncomfortable position, like the Hangman that is just hanging upside down. Or it's like you had to tackle or face your own shadow with this card of Strength, because in a card of Strength, it actually tells a story of someone who is trying to tame this other wild side of themselves, that side of them that is more untamed, instinctual, and dark. I feel that a lot of you have exhausted yourself in this nightmare, or maybe you woke up feeling drained, feeling tired, because what you have been trying to fight against was actually your own self, pal, too. It was this other part of yourself that could have been taking the form of this other person in that nightmare, or the form of that beast that you were fighting, that enemy that you were up against, or that more powerful, darker force that you were trying to combat. So this is really unique here, because I feel that for a lot of you, that was your own self that you were actually fighting against. And obviously, when we have a nightmare, normally that's because a part of our shadow, a part of our subconscious is trying to communicate to us and come to light. For you, Paltu, this enemy, aggressor, or bully, these forces that kept pulling you in one direction or another, feels like a part of yourself that you may have tried to suppress or fight during your wake life, actually. And that feels so obvious and so strong already to me, already with those few first cards. I will see later with your other cards what this dream is supposed to really mean more in details, but definitely there is something that you were fighting against in this dream, and it was something a lot darker, a lot scarier, and a lot more powerful than you for sure. I already get a sense that you are someone strong in your day-to-day living already, but that beast shadow, person, or entity that you have been trying to fight off in this dream, that is beyond anybody's power to bring down. And that's because our own biggest enemy most of the time is our own selves. We are our biggest, greatest obstacle most of the time. So yeah, I feel like this nightmare was pretty violent for a lot of you. And it's not like this is something that necessarily happens in your everyday nightmare. You know what I mean? It's not necessarily something that happens day to day. It was pretty disturbing for you. You know, with this card, Angela throwing Angela's baby from an upstairs window, that is a pretty fucked up moment, if you want me to be honest here. Enough to disturb anyone. It's that feeling of, gosh, what did I do to deserve this type of treatment and to be handled the way that I did? So this was a nightmare where you were absolutely overpowered and at the mercy of something a lot bigger than you. I keep coming back to this card of strength somehow. It really stands out to me. And even this hangman, you know, those two cards share a very similar energy together, because the hangman is someone who has been sentenced to death. He is waiting here, hanging on this cross for death to take him. So I don't know if you have felt a lot of physical pain in this dream, and I know this sounds odd, but sometimes I have personally made those nightmares where I was actually able to feel pain, actual pain in my body. Sometimes there's those nightmares where something happens, something pretty violent happens, and we aren't necessarily registering some of that more than just the emotions that the events conjure up in us. But then I feel that some of you guys during this nightmare actually felt the physical violence that was being inflicted upon you, and that is what made it so disturbing. You were definitely battling a heavier, denser force of energy here in this dream for sure. Something that had its claws in you or grip over you, and it just wouldn't let you go. So that's a bit morbid, but some of you may have had this nightmare where you were, you know, actually being murdered. Some of you may have had this dream where you were held hostage, where you were tied up even. Some of you may have had that nightmare where you were maybe convicted with this hangman card here and sentenced to death maybe. Or some of you may have watched your own self die or being violently attacked. Sorry, because I don't know why, but with those two cards here, I'm having the impression of being detached from my body, like I'm watching myself from a third view perspective. I don't know if you have had those nightmares before, but this feels like one like that almost. So some of you in this nightmare as well, like I've mentioned before, may have been also forced to choose in between one side over the other, choose in between two things, like I have mentioned earlier. So maybe two people, for instance, maybe to choose one side over the other. It could even be that you have been forced to act out of character against your own will and better judgment too, I have to say, with this card of strength again. Or felt torn in between two people, like maybe two loved ones, trying to have you choose in between one over the other, something along those lines that really manipulated your feelings with this card of strength. And that with the hangman really made you perhaps feel very regretful, very ashamed, or very awful about yourself for some reason. I don't know why this is coming up as a feeling to me right now. I guess that it's because the hangman is someone who hangs all of his own flaws. That's why he is where he is. He is being put on trial here. And what the story doesn't actually tell is that we don't exactly know if he was sentenced for something that he necessarily did or not. Oh, okay, so that leads me to something interesting. I feel that for some of you guys, that was you. That was you that did something horrible, perhaps, or very out of character, that acted in a violent way, very angry, or very in a very forceful manner. And maybe that it is what disturbed you so much here. Just know, you guys, that if it is the case, then don't worry. You're not mentally insane or someone bad and violent in real life. There's no taboo here in my safe space, and it's perfectly normal to have these sorts of nightmares sometimes. I want you to know, guys, that dreams are a space sometimes where we confront the taboo or issues we are unwilling to confront when we are awake. The people in our dreams can often be a substitutions for other people, or even substitutions for aspects of ourselves. And when we dream that we are acting out of character in a way that really doesn't represent ourselves, that can be another indication sometimes that we are confronting an aspect of ourselves that we are unwilling to allow room for or address, that we are normally trying to control or keep tamed, exactly like the card of strength. But now let's get into more details in that for you guys and see what this nightmare was actually really about. So we have here the card of the wall. Then we have here the broom. And we have here the boot. Very homey vibe with those three objects here. It makes me think of like maybe a lot of you had this nightmare. You were at home in this nightmare, or you were in a room somewhere. Then the next tarot cards that we have for you is the card of the star. And then a final card is the Queen of Pentacles reversed. I actually really love this Queen of Pentacles. She looks really steampunk. So maybe that some of those symbols here ring a bell for some of you guys. Maybe that some of you recognize some of those objects that were in your nightmare, or maybe not. But actually, those cards here seem to confirm a lot of what I was talking about. I feel like there is this part of you that feels a bit neglected or ignored by you in your wake life path too. And I feel that this is what your nightmare was actually trying to bring your awareness towards. There is this part of you that needs to be nurtured. This want or this need or that desire that wants to be acknowledged within you, with a Queen of Pentacles reversed. A side to you that requires more gentleness, maybe with this card of the star, maybe a bit more patience than maybe you are allowing it right now. That requires of you to be more compassionate towards it than maybe how you have been treating it lately or handling it lately with this card of strength and hangman. Maybe that's for some of you even that is somebody in your life that has been handling you not in the very correct way, or you that has been handling someone else a bit brutally, a bit harder or more severely than maybe you are perhaps normally used to. And if so, that is that grip that needs to be released here. It really feels to me like some of you could be a lot harder on someone or a lot harder on yourself than you need to be in a certain situation in your current life right now. And that is what this nightmare seemed to reenact. A part of you feels as though it's been swept under the rug or locked in the closet for a while now, for too long. That's how I feel about this broom and even this boot here. Like you have tried to kick it down, to kick it away, or constrict it, choke it, or hide it, even wipe it away. And that's not fair. But this part of you wanted to let you know that you couldn't escape your own self in that situation for that, and that sooner or later, no matter how much you try to kick or scream, this part of you will still be there. And sooner or later, it's going to emerge and you're going to have to accept it. So for a lot of you guys, it seems like your subconscious is trying to warn you to not let your own self down in a certain aspect of your life right now. It seems that you are losing a lot of energy, battling or trying to fight off this little voice inside of you, who is actually a voice of self-love, and reason. That little voice inside of you that has a message to deliver you today for you, Pal 2. And this message being along the lines that I see that a lot of you have been carrying a very heavy and unnecessary amount of weight on you. I say this because the Queen of Pentacles is normally a very big caretaker. She is a nurturer and a mother in tarot. And to me, seeing her like that lets me know that you have been preoccupied by a certain responsibility, especially since we have the broom here. And these shoes that you are trying to fill with this boot, maybe. You are putting a lot of pressure upon yourself, and this nightmare was a warning to release it. At least some of it. So with the Queen of Pentacles reverse, I understand that you take this job or this role extremely seriously, maybe even a bit too seriously, but there is just simply so much that you can control, Pal 2. I feel with the Star and this Hangman that this nightmare was a call to surrender. Another thing that is coming through me here is to stop fighting whatever is trying to come through in your life and that you are trying to resist right now. Maybe that this is a change, a transformation, something that you need to express or access or process within yourself, to not seek to control the process of it or how much time it's going to take for you to get on the other side of it. It's going to take the time that it's going to need. All right. So that feels like a big symbolism or metaphor to face what is trying to emerge and to let the change that is occurring within you and your environment occur right now, and to not seek to chase it down or constrict it in your own schedule, to let that healing happen exactly as it needs to happen with this kind of the Star, because so much peace and so much release will come as a result of you trying to control things from happening right now. The more you try to avoid it, the more it wants to show up in your dream and be like, what's up? What's your problem? You know, why don't you let me do my job here? I'm just trying to liberate you right now. And you're creating a lot of resistance. So the thing is, I feel that a lot of you could have certain anxieties about the future with this card right here somehow. Because the Star follows the Tower card in tarot, because it speaks of how we decide to deal with the aftermaths of a catastrophe. So right next to the Queen of Pentacles reverse, it's making me think that a lot of you guys have tried to maybe macromanage a certain area of your life or stifle a change from happening because you are latching with this card of number 31 and number 17. And that creates a cord difficult to cut. That's a change that needs to happen because it is actually there to release you and heal you. Whether that is an internal change or maybe more of a physical change. But by creating all of that resistance for yourself, you are actually creating a big blockage in your way right now, Pal 2. And I feel that this is why this card of the Wall is here for. This wall, to me, it represents a blockage that you are feeding into as you're trying to battle something that you are meant to surrender to. Something that you aren't meant to necessarily have much control over. And I know how scary that could feel for you. I feel that a lot of people who have chosen Pal 2 are used to be at the tower of control most of the time, you know. And I don't mean this in a bad way. I hope that you don't take it bad. I just feel that you guys are normally very good at keeping things under control or in order most of the time. But it feels like to me like this situation right there in your cards is much bigger than what you can tackle all by your own. And that's why I feel that your subconscious is trying to cry for help right now, for you to lean more on the support that is available to you around you right now with this Queen of Pentacles being reversed. Instead of trying to fulfill that role all to yourself or all by yourself right now, a very important message here is to not try to look strong and like you have everything together if you honestly don't. To allow yourself to simply let go and allow the process to happen. And I know you guys won't allow yourself to go down without a fight. But I feel that this is because you guys don't really allow yourself most of the time to show weakness or to break down in front of a lot of people, especially if you feel that there are people out there that pretty much rely a lot on you and count on you to manage the fort and to be this pillar of strength that keeps it together for the team. But you know, all great queens and kings have a council around them of wise and experienced advisors all of the time. And that's there for a reason, pal, too. That's because one single person, one man or one woman, cannot support the weight of an entire kingdom all by themselves. So the star here, she's just trying to clean everything that stands in the way of your future right now. She's cleaning all of that with a broom here, so that you don't get stuck in the dust of your own past, and so that you can move forward with this boot there, or maneuver around your environment more easily. But with this Queen of Pentacles reversed, this gives me the impression that you're trying to still hold on to something here, or that you are trying to get your grip over the process of this. It's this feeling that some of you could have of, well, how come can't I get over this thing? How come can't I seem to be able to take this under my control? Why is it that I can't come up on top of it? And I always seem to make one step forward and two steps back. I can't get a grip over this thing or over my future. And maybe that you're beating your own self down for all that is happening beyond your control right now, and that feels too overbearing and overwhelming for you to handle. It's because this thing is not meant for you to handle, at least not alone like that. Too much effort is never a good sign, pal, too, because too much effort means that you're having a fight with the universe, with the natural course of things, and most likely fighting what needs to be done. Do not create resistance for yourself. If something is taking you too much effort to maintain it, to try to keep it together or manage it in your life right now, then that is saying something. Maybe that this is not meant to take so much effort if it is truly meant for you. That, or because you need to lean on someone who can be that Queen of Pentacles to you, like you are trying to be the Queen of Pentacles for everyone else around you. So clearly there is something here, a process with this star card that has been initiated for you by the divine in your life, and your subconscious is trying to alert you to stop trying to prevent it from happening or to control the procedure of it. When you create resistance, you dig your heels in and you are not letting the energy of transformation come through. So you are kind of strangling it and stifling it because you are nervous of what is going to happen on the other side of it. So you are worrying perhaps about what you are going to have to lose for that new energy to come through. But the only thing that you need to defeat right now are those thoughts that are trying to prevent a very good thing from happening to you, and that very positive energy that wants to interact with you right now. Those thoughts are trying to make you lose hope in the process of it with a star card. All that you need to do right now is to be a vessel and container for it by surrendering to it with the Hangman and the Queen of Pentacles reversed, to let all of this be reclaimed by nature. This energy is not going to leave you forever, you guys. It is simply recycling, and that is why the star card is there. It is simply being redirected elsewhere for you in your life. So this feels like a self-loving reminder here that you cannot stop change or progression from happening, whatever this may be. This is an urge towards rebirth that I'm seeing here with those two cards. I don't know why, but this Queen of Pentacles reverse almost gives me the image of a woman giving birth. So there is new life here trying to breed into your reality. There is an urge here towards progression, towards accepting something that needs to occur, towards releasing control. Whatever you were fighting in this nightmare, I feel that it was created by the force inside of you, which does not let you sleep peacefully, pile 2, which means that you were clearly fighting against yourself here. But the message from your subconscious self is to allow what needs to happen, to release any sorts of guilt, shame, control, fear around allowing energies to get recycled in your life, and to let that something new come in. So that's what this nightmare means, pal, too. Most often our nightmares can be our allies when we take the time to understand them and where they come from more deeply. And I hope that this reading could get you to know the language of your subconscious a little bit better. Because when our subconscious become conscious, we take back the seat of our power over our fears. So I want to thank you for spending this time with me today and for making me your humble guide in this reading. And if you have been curious to check out my online tarot services, then the link to my shop will be down below in the description bar. It will be an absolute pleasure to be of further help to you if you are interested in that. But otherwise, I hope that we will hang out soon together on the channel in another video maybe. Bye bye, you guys. Welcome back to your reading where we explore the meaning of your nightmares. So I hope that you guys aren't already too creeped out by my sitting because it is the month of October by the time that I'm filming this. So I really decided to go all in and I assume the underworld vibes. But just so you know, I am using today an extremely special tarot deck of mine today, the most precious one that I own by far. And it's because it was basically my heritage from one of my best friends who actually passed away now from about 2 years ago. And it's one of the last few things that I own from her, one of the last few physical remaining things that I own from her. So obviously I've been thinking a lot about her lately, and I almost never use this deck, I have to say. I never cleansed it either, and that's because I only use it when I need her voice to guide me specifically. And so far it's been really crazy because she always seems to be so on point. I always have the impression that I'm still having this like conversation that we used to have with her through those cards. So I wanted her and her wisdom to accompany us today through this unique reading, and hopefully that way her love and her mission can still carry on even after death. So this deck is pretty haunting in its imagery, I just want to say already, and I feel that this is very reflective for the theme of that we're going to basically explore today within this reading, which is your nightmare. So I hope that you have one in mind currently. It could be one that you had lately or one that you had in a more distant past. It doesn't really matter. We will see what this nightmare may be about in the first section of this reading with those 3 big oracle cards over there and those first 2 tarot cards here. And then after that, about mid-section of this reading, I'm going to reveal the rest of the cards. So those 2 tarot cards over here and those 3 oracle cards here. And we're going to see with them what this nightmare actually means for you in your life. So I hope that you're ready. Let's see what your first few cards are and what this nightmare was actually about for you. So we have here, Andrew came across a horrid secret in Angela's diary. Okay, then the next scene that we have here for you is discard number 6. Then the next scene that we have is discard number 39. All right, and then the next card is the Ace of Cups. And Judgment in reverse. So you guys received information here that you didn't like. Bad news, maybe? So clearly there is something that you guys found out here or were confronted by in this nightmare that felt like a huge gut punch and deception. But even beyond that, I feel like the word deception does not even do this feeling that I'm having here justice. Like the reaction here that comes to my heart is, how dare you? You see this character here on this card? It's just so mad. I feel like so much anger emanating here. So that feels like past deception now, you know? That feels like unmoral or dishonorable. I see here with this Judgment card And this card of Andrew came across a hundred secret in Angela's diary. There you go. So I see that you guys here received news or found something out about somebody that you loved or deeply trusted with this card of the Ace of Cups, I feel, which sort of maybe allowed you to see the true colors of that person in this specific nightmare. And it felt like straight up treason. Like the words that are coming to me here are treachery and trickery. Like you guys have realized in this nightmare that you were being played all along. It's like this dream comes to show you a very harsh, painful truth, painful realization about something that you love with this Judgment reverse and Ace of Cups. And getting more specific here, I feel like this other person that was maybe involved in this nightmare scenario is definitely tied up to a relationship of yours, pile 3, especially with this Ace of Cups here. If there was someone in this dream that you saw, I feel like most likely you know this person. Most likely you have an emotional bond with them. Either this is someone in your present now, or this is about someone from your past. I feel that this nightmare was about you guys finding out something about someone that you love, or have received information with this card of Judgment here reversed that confirm some of your suspicions maybe about someone that you cared about. But personal feelings were definitely really involved here in this nightmare with this Ace of Cups. Is really what I'm getting so strongly here. This act of treason, it felt so personal to you and completely unjustified. It felt like a cold shower coming from realizing the true intent and true feelings of somebody else. So it's like this person maybe lied to you or has taken advantage of you. And this nightmare, they have like taken advantage of those feelings that you had shared with them or opened up to them, which feels so obvious to me. And it is coming through here so strongly. I feel that for some of you who have chosen this pile, this nightmare could have been about disloyalty, like finding out that a partner was cheating on you or a family member was lying to you. Somebody didn't have your back like they were supposed to have it here. Either that, or maybe that this is even perhaps even you cheating on someone else and them finding out about it maybe. But someone here really acted out of character almost. A big secret here has been uncovered, and it felt like a huge shock for someone that never expected that other person to even act in this way in front of them or even behind their back. It's like, out of all people, to do something like that to you, that feels like beyond deception. That feels like high treason for sure. But this is really what I see here. Is somebody in this dream being tricked or lied to here? Do you see how there's this little demon sort of laughing at this man that is being taken away by those two monks there? To me, this really feels like being tricked by the devil or losing against the devil. We even have a sort of grimoire here. And even we have a treasure here right behind. So someone here has been tempted by the devil or manipulated by it. Do you see how like this demon there is performing this sort of spell or magic on these two characters here? So this feels like losing against the devil, almost like someone has been tempted by this force or fell into that desire at that very harsh price. Or on this card here, number 6, that feels like these characters are being manipulated here, and their facial expression feels like shock to me. Like they didn't expect that at all, like literally. So this nightmare feels like a shock, like a stab in the heart. Like you have found out about someone's true heart. That is what this Ace of Cups represents. It represents someone's truest essence and soul, because that is what cups are all about in tarot. And you saw how corrupted and dishonest the content of that cup or of that heart was in that person in particular. So I feel that for a lot of you, this nightmare was actually alerting you of certain underlying feelings that could have remained hidden underneath the surface of your life. somehow with this Ace of Cups, because that judgment feels like a huge red flag or wake-up call that you needed to receive. And this comes from a feeling that you have been having with this Ace of Cups, but that maybe didn't have confirmation before. And I'm not saying here that this dream was an omen or that it was a sign for something that is actually truly happening in your real life, but I feel that it just goes to say that you could be, we will see with your other cards here, but you could be having some doubts here in your real life. And it's like in this dream, it's like your nightmare is confirming those doubts in the most horrible way possible, basically. So that could be a very strong option for many of you who have chosen this pile. But it comes from a feeling that you've been having, but that doesn't seem so obvious, maybe during your wake life too, or maybe you brush it off or try to sort of ignore it, or perhaps that you are even unaware that you have been having it. And it's like your subconscious blew this trumpet here to warn you of it, for you to get your awareness on it, on that feeling, or on that, you know, little second doubt here. So obviously I already have an idea of what this may mean, but let's get into more details for you guys, because I really want to let the cards speak for themselves here. So we have the Arbiculum, Crystal Ball. Next card that we have, look at that, the Rat. Somebody ratted out in that nightmare, possibly. Then we have the Hag. Yep. Then the next tarot card is the Wheel of Fortune reversed. Finally, we have for you, that's the Four of Wands reversed. Yep, you could have been feeling here that something is wrong about someone in your life, pile 3, or that there is something off here about a certain relationship of yours. Either that's somebody that has been acting maybe a little bit strange lately or different than usual with you, especially because we have the Hag here and the Rat. Or this is you that is a bit uncertain about the future of this relationship and where it's actually going with this Wheel of Fortune reverse and also this Crystal Ball. I feel a bit of uncertainty and hidden insecurity about those two cards here. So that's making me wonder if you are worrying maybe about someone and their true intent towards you. Maybe are you worried maybe that things have gone a bit stale with your partner, or have you been asking yourself some questions about the true potential for certain relationship or commitment of yours maybe? Or maybe that you're worrying here about certain circumstances or like a third party of some sort. And I don't mean like a third party necessarily like in someone else, but I mean it could be, but maybe this is like also circumstances in your life that are acting up as this third party. Maybe you could be worrying about that, breaking up your marriage, or maybe breaking up the complicity that you have with someone. This Four of Wands reversed here says that this nightmare was clearly tied up to a relationship in your life, or to your home life, or to a commitment in your life. And this Wheel of Fortune is reversed here because I see that this is you basically expecting the worst to come. You fearing the expiration date of that commitment, basically. If you want me to be honest, that really looks like mostly anticipation here with this Wheel of Fortune reversed, and perhaps even a little bit of mistrust with this Hag and this Rat. Again, this Rat and this Hag give me the impression of you feeling like there might be a rat in the room, or someone here who is a bit double-faced with you, or a bit unclear with you sometimes. Therefore, your mind is sort of conjuring up this scenario here where there must be something that they are hiding or not telling you about. But I feel that this is anticipation here, because something is not clear in your mind, anticipating something to fall through, something to go wrong, or expecting to see all of your efforts put into this commitment or relationship being jeopardized here without any sorts of warnings, with judgment reverse as well. So something or somebody here, like I've said, maybe a third party, coming to ruin everything that you have spent a lot of energy building. You could be worrying about your partner maybe being unfaithful, cheating, leaving, and you basically not seeing it coming. Or I almost wonder here if this is maybe because you're worrying that something is going wrong that you are unaware of, that you maybe don't know about someone, or maybe you are worrying that this person is going to change their mind about you and leave you behind. Maybe. So this feels like a hidden insecurity to me, having to do with a fear of being abandoned. Maybe because you had a similar experience happening to you before in the past, or because you could feel like you and your partner maybe could have taken a bit of distance from each other lately. Or it's like you are this person, you are this other party here in this commitment. Maybe that's even your job. I don't know. Like you could have gotten a sense that you have taken a bit of distance from that lately, or lost a bit of control over that lately. So it's funny because I have been talking about this week with someone, I don't remember who, because someone asked me what sorts of readings I was asked to do most often. And I think that most readers here will agree with me that love readings are probably the most popular ones, hands down. And that person asked me why, actually. And so we started thinking about it more deeply and talking about it a little bit more. And we came to the conclusion that if there is something that is most difficult to control in our life or turn around how we want it to be, it's definitely relationships, because we cannot really control how someone chooses to feel. Like we can control how we can change job or change car, you know what I mean? So that's why I feel that most of the time the fear to lose control over our relationships and the people that we love is one of the biggest human worry that I notice, because we cannot manipulate someone else's mind. We cannot manipulate someone else's heart and their feelings towards us. We can only do our part, do our best, and pray for the best. So it seems like you guys have certain underlying insecurities right now about something that you are not always aware of, which is all normal. And I hope that you know that this nightmare, by the way, is a lot more common than you may think. And it does not necessarily mean that it's an omen. Again, I really want to specify it. But for sure, I feel like it's a clear sign here, a serious sign that there is this feeling that you have been having and that is worth your time and your need to investigate it further, where it comes from, and question maybe the legitimacy of it, because all feelings are valid, but not all of them deserve being believed in. And that's because sometimes our feelings, they come from our fear, and sometimes they come from our ego. They aren't always coming from our higher self. That's the difference here that is important to acknowledge. And you are right, you know, maybe that you can't control how someone will receive what you have to share with them or how they're going to react to it, but you can absolutely control how you decide to deliver that information to them. And you can definitely control what you feel is best to bring you and this someone closer to you. Clearly here, there is something that needs to be said, or a feeling that needs to be shared with that loved one. And this feeling, it needs to be taken seriously and acknowledged. And this is what this nightmare was alluding to, I feel. It was trying to help you resolve a certain either anxiety that you have been having, or maybe even a certain paranoia that is running like a tape in the background of that relationship, which could be affecting in return the quality of your present moment with that person, or which could impact how you can fully abandon yourself and feel comfortable trusting wholeheartedly this person to have your back like you have theirs. But I feel here like your subconscious is trying to invite you to lay it all on the table, and to find a way to release those doubts that you have, and to dare questioning those suspicions that you are having. Pile 3. The Four of Wands, it speaks of the 4 legs to a chair. In order for it to stay stable, and solid, it speaks of the four walls that we need to have to be able to hold the roof over our heads. It represents the foundation of all things we want to create in life, whether that is a long-lasting home, work, or relationship. Seeing this card reversed to me, it basically says that you may not always be aware of it, but those insecurities are like a foundation that your bigger feelings in future is being built upon. A house will rise out of that. And how solid it will be or not, it depends all on the nature of those two people that are coming together to build it. If one of them is a bit too distant or isn't as committed as the other one, then it's like making a chair with only 3 legs. So be careful not to feed too much into those doubts, to not build a foundation out of them that later turns out into a self-fulfilling prophecy with this Wheel of Fortune reversed. Either release them or resolve them with who it concerns, because otherwise that is self-sabotage, pile 3, to keep all of that to yourself. And if you are keeping anything to yourself right now, be sure that it's going to be revealed sooner or later. And the Wheel of Fortune reverse says that it will create a pattern where it will become more and more difficult to avoid it or to trust someone or receive trust the next time if you keep sitting on it. Because if you build a foundation out of mistrust, out of fear or insecurity, then that will be what the rest of what you are creating will be built of. And it will become harder and harder to remove it, because dislodging it will mean that you will need to bring the entire structure down. It will mean that the entire house needs to go down now. So the longer that you sit on that, those deeply seated emotions, the more you compound and sit on them, the more they will expand, till one day they won't be so much in your control anymore. Maybe that for now, those feelings are very small and it's not much of a big deal to you, but it will become more and more amplified. Whatever comes in the influence of the Wheel of Fortune always expands and grow. So I feel like this nightmare was just a quick warning to you to watch out for that. So the Wheel of Fortune reversed here, and this crystal ball there as well. They are saying to me that your destiny and future lies upon whatever structure you're building right now. So do you want a future constructed out of those fears? Do you want to keep those patterns alive? For those that had this occurring in your life before, or do you want a future that will be solid, safe, and unshakable for you? If you want to build this solid home, then it is in your power to voice it to your partner and to see if they stand with you by that or not. But you absolutely need to make that clear right now, to know where you guys stand with each other right now. And maybe that it is not something very big, maybe that for some of you guys, like I've mentioned, it's just that maybe you have been realizing that you have taken a bit of distance from someone in your life lately, and maybe that all that you need is a gesture, maybe, or a conversation, a confirmation that will sort of like renew this commitment with a 4 of Wands reverse, or just confirm where you guys stand and where you're going together, in which direction you're walking basically, and if you are actually walking together right now or not. So this does not necessarily need to be a partnership, like a romantic partner. It could be also like a child that you have, or it could be a friend that you have, or a family member as well. But some of you here really have been feeling uncertain about your future somehow, or where you stand maybe in the life of someone else with everything that has been going on in your life right now, or from everything that has been happening in this person's life right now. It's like your commitment has kind of lost its way through the motion that things have been going. And I feel that it is simply normal to have those meetings once in a while, to set the record straight. That's so normal, and it's so important, because a partnership is first and foremost a team, and a team needs to communicate together if each member is to create something cohesive with the vision that a team has as a whole. And that's also the energy of the 4 of Wands all day, every day. But no matter how long things have been feeling a little bit shaky, unstable, or unsure for you, it's important to take back ownership over that, over what you want your reality to be like in the nearby future, because the universe has to work in harmony with you. It needs to work hand in hand with you. So if you let the universe make all of the decisions for you right now, and you are only letting yourself be transported in that current, then you might not create the destiny that you want. So you're really being asked here to make use of your free will, pile 3. So anything that is shaking up that foundation right now, it needs to go, or it needs to be taken control over by you to re-solidify anything that has been weakened by either maybe people or circumstances that could have want to defy that lately. If you want your commitment to solidify and strengthen, then you do that, pile 3. Don't wait until it's too late or until you feel disconnected from it. If something is shaking up that foundation and assurance in you right now, then you have the power to set the pendulum straight. If anything right now is feeding into that insecurity with this 4 of Wands reverse as well, whether that is somebody that is implementing those doubts, that is removing a bit of confidence from you maybe, that is putting that sort of like spell on you with this hag here, that is telling you that it's not going to work out for you for this or that reason, then you have to set things straight with that person so that they know they're aligned, because the words that people say to us sometimes can sometimes be like a spell or an incantation that can conjure up in our mind so many realities when we decide to subscribe to it. I don't remember in which reading I have said that, but humans curse their own selves most of the time by believing or subscribing to who and what implement those fears and insecurities in their mind. So you are asked to banish all of that, pile 3. And to make a very good cleanup of that, to get back a sense of control over your mind with this Wheel of Fortune reverse. If this is someone around you, like a life context that you are currently traversing, maybe that this is like your past, if this nightmare is about an ex maybe, or about a similar situation that occurred before to you, or if this is you that is feeding into that and cursing your own self in this relationship by giving up and losing any sense of involvement with it. No matter what this is, you guys need to get more involved right now and to not allow this underlying feeling to simply drive your life right now and to simply fly off your radar. That is the message that your subconscious has really been trying to make through this nightmare to you. And see, the woman sitting here, I'm just going to reverse again this card just for the sake of showing you, but that woman is sitting there and she's just looking at this character that is turning the wheel for her on this heart that is breaking. Can you see that? Damn, I just noticed that. Like, there are so many details to be found in the cards all of the time. You need to watch out for that all the time. But this woman right there is choosing heartbreak for you. And right next to that, there's a hand here. So there is a power for you to stop it, to get more involved, to take back the wheel of your destiny into your own hands. So many people fate their own selves to a destiny out of their control because they are too afraid to engage with it and to take on the wheel. Try taking the wheel of your sentimental life, pile 3, and rid yourself of that voice in your mind that says that sort of negative incantation in your mind, because that is poison to what you are actually trying to build in your life right now with this hack. And that is poison to what you deserve too. So you deserve to feel safe, supported, and solid in your love life, in any other relationship that you have. And I really hope that you believe that as much as I do. So that's what this nightmare meant for you, pile 3. Most of our nightmares can be allies when we take the time to understand them and take a bigger look at what they might, where they might come from. And I hope that this reading could help you get to know the language of your subconscious a little bit better. When our subconscious becomes conscious, we take back the seat of our power over our fears and can create a destiny that we want. So I want to thank you for spending this time with me today and for making me your humble guide in this reading. If you have been curious to check out my online tarot services, the link to my shop will be down below in the description bar. It will be a pleasure to be of further help to you if you need it and if you are interested into that. But otherwise, I hope that we will hang out soon on the channel again in another video, maybe, you guys. But for now, bye bye. Welcome to your reading, pal 4, where we explore the meaning of one of your nightmares. I hope that you guys aren't too creeped out already by my setup, because by the time that I'm filming this, we are the month of October right now. In my dimension or my reality, by the time that you come across this video. And so I really wanted to go all in with the energies, with the underworld vibes. So just so you know, I'm using an extremely special and very unique deck today. The most precious one that I hold by far. And that's because that was my heritage from actually one of my best friends who passed away now about 2 years ago. And it's one of the last few things that I own from her. It's one of the last physical remains that I have of her. And I almost actually never used that deck. I never cleansed it either. And that's because I normally only use it when I need her voice to guide me specifically. And so far it's been so crazy because everything that I've been channeling through this deck was always so on point. I always had the impression that I was having this conversation with her through this deck. So I wanted her and her wisdom to accompany us today through this very unique reading, because hopefully that way her love, her mission can still carry on even after her death. So this deck is pretty haunting in its imagery, and I feel that it's very reflective for the theme that we're going to explore today, which is your nightmare. So I hope that you have one in mind currently. It could be one that you had lately or one that you had in a more distant past. It doesn't really matter. We will see what this dream may be about in the first section of this reading, with the first 2 tarot cards over there and the 3 big oracle cards here. And then after that, about midsection of this reading, I'm going to reveal those 2 other tarot cards here and those more little oracle cards over there to see what this nightmare actually meant for you in your life. So if you're ready, let's see what your first cards are and what this nightmare that you had may be about. So the first sort of scene that we have for you here is a disguised person came to one of the side doors. That picture is actually a little bit creepy or goofy. I don't know how to feel about it, actually. And the next scene that we have for you is this card number 24. Then the next scene that we have is this card 29. Okay, so there's a very big theme here. I'm going to come back on that. Then your tarot cards are the moon reversed, and then we have the Hierophant. So there is this very odd energy here. I'm wondering if you guys saw something, like saw an entity appearing, basically. A figure so clear, but yet you did not recognize them. I'm getting this impression here with this card right there. And the moon reversed, that in this particular nightmare you get visited by someone, or there is someone in your room, maybe at the door or maybe out at the window, that you do not recognize. Ooh, I'm having chills right now. You guys got me spooked. I'm going to give you that. And I didn't expect to have this feeling, this reading today at all, but don't worry, you guys. I don't think that it's anything bad or anything, but I just want to warn you that maybe if you're a bit maybe if you're a little bit sensitive, maybe you would prefer to close down the video or watch another reading. That's completely fine by me. But I really have to be honest here with you guys 100%. I want to be of help through the good, the bad, the scary, the creepy, the things that are difficult to make sense of. I am here for that. So I want to reassure you that you're not alone. People may have many different experiences, and if we are to eventually sort of like remove a taboo filter out of that, then we need to talk about it. And I'm open for that discussion, you know, and I hope that you are as well, because I have to tell you guys that I believe strongly that very often our dreams are like a metaphor for all that is happening in our life, like everything that is happening in our subconscious. But if you have listened to my introduction, you guys will know by now that I am an Oneiromancer, which means that I experience a lot of my psychic downloads and spirit contact mainly through dreams very often. And I am also a lucid dreamer. That's actually how I first tapped into my spiritual abilities, if you will, when I was a child. And I feel that a lot of people who have chosen this path could be in that same team as me right now. I feel that some of you already know that, and then I feel that others of you could be pretty confused right now because this nightmare that you had, it didn't feel just like your usual nightmare. You know, it felt supernatural. It felt as real as I am talking to you through this video right now, beyond anything that you have experienced before or maybe even after. So I don't know as well if some of you maybe could also suffer from sleep paralysis, or if you could have had sleep paralysis episodes before, maybe, because the visuals that I'm having is almost like this black smoke, a little bit oppressing, a little bit heavy, like an apparition, basically, like a form, a shape, or something like that. My body also feels sorts of numb with your reading. Kind of like this figure here that is uplifting. And again, I'm not here to freak you out, but again, it's heavy, which is this weird sort of paradox here that I'm feeling. And again, I'm not here to freak anyone out. I really need to be careful here when I speak about these sorts of things on the channel, because I want to feed, I don't want to feed into fear. I want to feed into self-empowerment, but I am also here to try to understand with you what happened, and maybe that together we can clarify certain things a little bit, because awareness is the best weapon against ignorance, and it's the best weapon against fear. But it seems clear to me here that you have been visited in this nightmare pile 4, and you are actually not sure right now by who or by what. But you can remember every details of what this being looked like and what the experience was like to you. So this is a really other kind of vibe from all of my other pals. I see that my pal 4s get visited quite a lot in your dreams, every now and then at least. And it's so interesting because you know how sometimes we can dream about someone and it's like either it was a relative that we already know what they look like, obviously, like it's someone that you already know, or maybe someone from your past even. And when it's someone that you don't know, it's often like their face is kind of unclear or not as defined. It's kind of like blurry or keeps changing, and they are more difficult to remember. Well, I feel that you guys don't really experience that most of the time. I feel like you guys remember clearly a lot of the time. Maybe even that some of you drew these faces or just figures that you have seen in your dreams before. I feel though like you guys could often dream of people you don't know at all. Well, sometimes you know them and sometimes you don't, but no matter what, those dreams are so vivid, so detailed, and so cohesive that
this is what could intrigue a lot of you very often and make you wonder who this was. But that's the thing. I feel that sometimes you could get these very more pleasant encounters, if you will, but other times it isn't as pleasant, or it feels a little bit scary even to you. Since this is a reading about nightmares here, you probably get those visits not only in your more so normal dream, I should say, but also in your nightmares. But I really feel, especially with this moon reverse and this card of the Hierophant, that for a lot of you guys, the veil goes thinner suddenly when you are asleep. You could have had dreams of a deceased relative before. Maybe that some of you guys astral projected through your dreams before as well, and maybe that could have been a scary experience to you, or not necessarily. Some of you have had a lot of prophetic dreams before, like apparitions, because with this card of the moon here as well, when we speak of the moon, we speak of that moment where everything goes dark. And so when everything goes dark, we cannot really see as clearly anymore, but all of our other senses really kick in though. So we can still sense things, hear things, and feel them very vividly. That's why this card is often associated with psychic powers and premonitions. So I feel like your dreams aren't just a visual experience to you guys most of the time. And it's not to say that dreams are just a visual experience. I really don't want to say that. It's just that some people take their dreams just as a, you know, a visual experience. And I feel that for you guys, you've never taken your dreams in this way. You've always had like a full, complete experience. It's also a physical experience where all of your other senses come very alive, like your sense of touch, your sense of smell, your sense of hearing, maybe even that some of you sleepwalked before, which is another thing that is coming to me here. I just feel here very out of ordinary sleep patterns for a lot of you, which could be one of the scary element coming to that sort of nightmare here. That could be what particularly felt disturbing about this nightmare that you could be inquiring about. I really want to see what those other cards will say, but already, especially since we have the Hierophant here as well. And the Hierophant, he's a channeler. He's basically a channeler in between the universe, God, however you want to call it, and humans. So this lets me know that you guys channel a lot spiritually through your dreams, whether that is the information that you receive, encountering entities, and even spiritual travels that you are experiencing. And I feel with the moon reverse and this Hierophant card that this dream was channeled for you guys. It was a connection that you have made with something. But let's get into more details now, because I really want to see what your other cards will reveal, and hopefully it will tell us more about that. So we have here for you the fish. Oh, sorry. Yeah, something is definitely fishy here. And the next card that we have is the wheel. Then next up we have the ink. And your tarot cards are the Page of Swords. That is a very interesting Page of Swords. Then after that we have the Seven of Wands. So yeah, something is definitely fishy about this dream, and you guys can sense that it didn't feel normal. And we even have the card of the Ankh here, which is often called the Egyptian cross, and the Ankh is a symbol of eternal life. It basically represents life as a cycle. It is said that it was the first or original cross worn by pharaohs and kings to preserve their immortality. So this is actually a symbol of life, and of course, life after death. So this lets me know that you guys tend to get contacted by the other side quite a lot when you sleep. You seem to have an increased, kind of like kind of like there's a different world to visit at night than there is during the day, right? There's the sun card and the moon card. You guys here visit another world when you are deeply asleep. You seem to have an increased psychic awareness level during sleep, where you download a lot of secret universal knowledge sometimes, where you seem to also pick up on a lot of information that is happening all around you energetically and into the other side as well. That's what I feel with this Page of Swords too, and the Seven of Wands. That's so crazy, because the Page of Swords is the really big communicator in tarot. The Page of Swords, to me, he is the one responsible for passing down information, collecting and communicating that information. And do you see how on this card, he has this sort of like steampunk eye device with this beam of light piercing right in front of him? That's actually such an interesting Page of Swords. I never seen a Page of Swords that interesting before. You guys pick up on a lot of stuff in your dreams, and sometimes you see things that can feel perhaps a little bit scary to you, because this card is followed by the Seven of Wands right next, or perhaps a little bit disturbing for you. I really have to tell you guys that people like you who are sensitive to energies and that are very sharp in their senses are like a lighthouse to the spiritual realm. Pile 4, where your energy releases and it stretches pretty far away from you, kind of like this beam of light that is projected in front of you. And spiritual beings of all kinds, they can pick up on that. Now, like all gifts, it needs to be nurtured. And if you see things that sometimes creep you out, or that you feel that you aren't really prepared to face, if you have been having this reoccurring dreams maybe and find yourself tormented by those dreams, figures and entities, power force, then protection magic, words of power, and incantation before you go to sleep will really help you. As a chaos magician, I absolutely prone designing spiritual habits that are 100% yours. So don't be shy to do whatever feels necessary here for you to feel safe in your own bed, in your own bedroom, in your own life. Whatever resonates with you, whether that is sage, whether that is prayer, spiritual baths or showers, whether that is calling in for protection of your guardians as well. I really encourage you to call back your power towards you, and just know that you don't have to be religious at all to do any of that. You don't have to be religious to for example, pray, because prayer, basically, at least to me, prayers are just incantations, basically. Because when we speak words of power with a sincere intent behind them, we basically create an incantation. And incantations, they infuse whatever energy we want to conjure up with power. It's basically like a spell or like a ritual. But I really encourage you here to call back your power right now with this ink. Especially if you have been having those dreams more often lately, or if you find yourself scared to go to sleep sometimes, or a bit scared that this will happen again, or if you worry about inviting something in, because again, with the Seven of Swords here and Seven of Wands, sorry, and the Page of Swords, it's not that anything has latched onto you, don't worry. It's just that protection to me is all about drawing power back to ourselves. Spiritual protection is such a complex topic to speak about, because what might work for me might not necessarily work for you. And that's because we all feel empowered by different things, right? But I just want you to know that your power is something that no being in this world and beyond can ever snatch away from you, pal. For your power is yours, and it will always remain yours as long as you don't surrender it. That is how I feel with the Seven of Wands. As long as you don't leave a piece of it behind out of fear or lack or loss of confidence, people, experiences, and things don't take our power. We surrender it to them. So that's why it's very important for you to call it back once in a while, and maybe to do that before you go to sleep as well, because I feel that for a lot of you who have chosen this spell, that kind of magic is so powerful for you. One thing that has proven very powerful for me, and I will share it with you if you want to try it and maybe see if it works for you, but it's that every now and then before I go to sleep, I like to sit on my bed and place both hands over my heart like this, and I say, I return all that doesn't belong to me to their transmitters. Simple as that. I return all that doesn't belong to me to their transmitters. I say it until it just feels right for me to let it go and to sleep on it. So there are so many ways to sort of like cleanse and protect yourself and your energy. And I really invite your intuition to be the guide here. But I am just making that as a suggestion to you guys, because I feel that some of you could have been having those experiences lately because something in your energy could need to be cleansed a little bit. And if you have found yourself very scared by that, then maybe cleansing your energy could really help draw any sorts of power back to you that you could have left behind through this experience. And it is so important that you remain the sole owner of your power. Very, very important. But I really get a feeling here that a lot of you from this pile are used to have all sorts of spiritual dreams by now, but a lot of you could still be trying to work your way through gaining a little bit more control or confidence over this power maybe. And that's why I feel also that keeping a dream journal next to your bedside table is also something that I definitely recommend to you, Power. Especially if you want to comprehend better this gift, how it interacts with you, or if you want to develop this gift further. Everybody has the ability to tap into information in their dreams. However, all abilities are like this muscle basically that we need to exercise once in a while in order to keep in shape. Since I have been keeping a dream journal myself, I have been able to remember now sometimes 3 or sometimes even 4 dreams in one night. So I highly recommend it because it will practice your brain to sort of memorize your experiences better, and you would be surprised by how much information are constantly stored in your dreams. It's really insane when I think about it, but you guys definitely should get a dream journal if you don't have one already, because its experience was meant for you to record it and take note of it, because you are made to make a lot more sense of it in the future, is what I'm getting somehow. You guys are meant to make a lot of sense out of those scarier or more unexplained experiences later on in your spiritual journey with the Hierophant and the Moon reverse. But yeah, I feel that a lot of spirit contact happens in your dreams most of the time. You guys travel a lot through your dreams too, is also what I'm getting, but this experience was a bit different than the others because you have felt unease. You have felt fear or threat. It's like you have felt almost attacked here. And I don't know if that is because of what you saw, what you heard or sensed, but it feels to me like this was a negative experience for you. This energy, whatever this was, felt a bit dark and not the good type of dark. You may have awakened feeling very drained or very grumpy, or like this dream sucked a lot of energy out of you with the 7 of Wands. But the thing as well is that you were very, very deep into that subconscious state when the Moon reversed, is what I see here, and it took a lot of effort for you to get back. I am confirming to you that this was definitely some sort of spiritual contact here that you had, and I feel here with this Ankh and this wheel and this 7 of Wands that your spirit team wants to sort of empower yourself right now, and again to recall back every bit of power and courage that you have right back to you, to not fear this dream. Your dreams in general, they show you so much, and this time you were shown something very different, something very significant for your spiritual evolution, I feel, with the Hierophant and also with this wheel here. And it seems like you guys are battling a lot of forces as well during your sleep and during your nightmares. And that reminds me a lot about myself, actually. All of those different spectrums of energies, you can pick up very, very easily on that. Not only in your dream state, but also in your wake life, but especially in your dream state. This Page of Swords right there is giving me the image of an antenna with the sword right up in the air, of being able to pick up on all of those different radio signals or channels. So maybe that is what happened particularly during this dream. It seems like here that you had this sort of encounter, and it was really in line with your spiritual gifts, Pile 4. It was to alert you of the energies that sort of gravitate around you as well at this time, or the type of energies that can sometimes get attracted by your big presence. And like I've said, if that scares you, then know that you absolutely have the big end of the stick here. And I really truly invite you to equip yourself with more maybe nighttime rituals or tools or spells or words of power again, whatever you need to feel safe. But you guys are already extremely protected, though I really want to make that clear with you with this Ankh and also with this Hierophant here. Your guides want you that you're extremely protected during those travels. Not a lot of things can mess around with you as I see it. You guys have a lot of spiritual protection during those dreams for sure. You are guarded by some very high frequency beings here. So I'm not really worried about you, but you will be fine. But yeah, that is what I see this nightmare was actually about. You guys channel a certain energy here with this Page of Swords, and chances are that it took the form that it took because you didn't like what you picked up on, if that makes any sense. Because with this wheel here, it feels like the beginning of an incredible journey for you. I really do sense that your spiritual gifts interacts with you a lot through your dreams, but those experiences, you are meant to keep record of them. So this is what I'm hearing so strongly for you. So definitely start a journal practice as soon as you wake up if you haven't already, because a lot of answers to those dreams are supposed to come to you a little bit later, Pile 4. And if it happens again, where you have those types of dreams where you wake up and it's like, man, I haven't slept at all here. I feel like I've spent my night fighting or draining away my own energy. Like it has taken so much energy out of me. Then that might help you as well. What might help as well is to take the time to maybe ground back in your body before you go out of bed, to maybe do a quick body scanning beforehand, and to not touch any electronics maybe in the first 15 minutes by the time that you wake up at least. Sometimes it helps as well to drink a glass of water as you wake up, just to let your system just to get your system going, basically hydrating your body a bit. All those tricks I feel will help you feeling a bit more in control, or to the very least help you develop some sort of routine, because I feel that the spirit realm really loves interacting with you guys when you sleep, because most of us are more receptive during sleep, obviously, because the analytic part of our brain is not as active than when we are awake. But for you guys, it's like when you are asleep, you get to access and experience a more complex and whole spiritual experience than when you are just meditating or awake, for instance. So it seems to me like you guys are more open maybe to experience stuff that otherwise you wouldn't necessarily look to experience, or that you wouldn't necessarily look for in your wake life. But those things, the universe judges it important for you to confront them spiritually too, because you are someone that cleanses a lot of energy while you sleep. That's what spirit wants you to do with this nightmare, is to transmute it into power, because having access to this other realm like that in the ways that you do is a power, and spirit doesn't want you to fear your own power, but for you to take the wheel over it instead of being the one driven by your dreams, right? That's because this nightmare was meant to teach you how to use this power and gain better control over it through what you decide to invite in and how you wish to experience what is happening around you. But that's what I see this nightmare was actually all about for you, Pile 4. It was a tangible evidence of one of your spiritual gifts. And the truth that you guys can not only pick up on what is just lighthearted and fuzzy, but you guys can also pick up on heavier stuff too. Most likely this is because this was an energy that you needed to banish from either your environment, from yourself, from your life back then, or from your subconscious that could interact with it. But my power force are just sensitive like that. So I want to thank you for spending this time with me today, you guys, and for making me your humble guide in this reading. I hope that you have learned something maybe new about yourself, or that maybe it clarified a little bit of things that you already felt about yourself. If some of you have been curious to check out my online tarot services, the link to my shop will be down below in the description bar. It will be a pleasure to be of further help to you if you are interested into that and to get to know you. But otherwise, I hope that we will hang out soon on my channel again in another video. But for now, I wish you an amazing rest of your day, and we should see each other soon again. Bye bye, guys.